Welcome to today's Catholic Daily Readings from Christus Dominus Bread of Life. A reading from the letter of St. Paul to the Ephesians. And so, you are not visitors and new arrivals. Instead, you are citizens among the saints in the household of God, having been built upon the foundation of the apostles and of the prophets, with Jesus Christ himself as the cornerstone. In him all that has been built is framed together, rising up into a holy temple in the Lord. In him you also have been built together into a habitation of God in the Spirit.
Heavens declare your glory, Lord. The skies proclaim your mighty work. Their message goes out through all the earth. Their message goes out through all the Every sunrise tells of your greatness. Every star sings mercy in the night. Creation speaks without a word, yet all the world can hear. Their message goes out through all the earth. Day to day, your truth goes forward. Night to night, your wisdom spreads. No speech, no voice, and still faithful bearers, their story known to heaven. Their footsteps echo continents, and hope takes root again. Their message goes out through all the earth. Founding of the foundation, Christ the cornerstone holds firm, and we are risen on their faith. Voices carried through generations, truth like thunder shaking nations. No darkness can silence this call, no empire can hold it back. The message
A reading from the Holy Gospel according to Luke. Now it happened that, in those days, he went out to a mountain to pray, and he was in the prayer of God throughout the night. And when daylight had arrived, he called his disciples. And he chose 12 from among them, whom he also named apostles: Simon, whom he named Peter, and Andrew his brother, James and John, Philip and Bartholomew, Matthew and Thomas, James the son of Alphaeus, and Simon who is called the Zealot, and Jude the son of James, and Judas Iscariot, who became a traitor. Join us for today's reflection. Simon and Jude are the apostles nobody knows. Peter gets books, Paul gets half the New Testament, John gets a gospel, 3 letters and Revelation, James gets prominence in Jerusalem, Matthew gets a gospel, Thomas gets famous for doubting, but Simon and Jude, they're just names at the end of the list. Luke mentions them, that's about it. No sermons recorded, no miracles described, no dramatic encounters with Jesus preserved in detail. Just their names on the roster of the 12. Yet here's what matters. Jesus spent the whole night in prayer before choosing them. The entire night, communing with the Father about who should be apostles. And when morning came, he called his disciples and chose 12, whom he named apostles. Simon and Jude made that list. After a night of prayer, Jesus looked at Simon and Jude and said, "Yes, your foundation stones for what I'm building." Paul explains what they became part of. You're no longer strangers and sojourners, but fellow citizens with the holy ones and members of the household of God, built upon the foundation of the apostles and prophets with Christ Jesus himself as the capstone. Through him, the whole structure is held together and grows into a temple sacred in the Lord. In him you're being built together into a dwelling place of God in the Spirit. Foundation stones don't get attention. Nobody looks at a magnificent building and thinks about the foundation. They see the architecture, the decoration, the visible beauty. The foundation is buried, hidden, doing essential work nobody notices. That's Simon and Jude, foundation stones for the church, essential, chosen after a night of prayer, but largely forgotten because foundation work is invisible. The psalm says the heavens declare the glory of God. The sky proclaims his handiwork. Day after day it speaks. Night after night it reveals knowledge, no word or speech. Their voice is not heard, yet their message goes through all the earth, their words to the ends of the world. Silent proclamation that reaches everywhere. That's foundation work. That's Simon and Jude. Think about what it means that Jesus prayed all night before choosing the apostles. He didn't make quick decisions about who would be foundation stones. He spent the entire night in communion with the Father. Peter, who would deny him 3 times. Prayed about it all night. Judas, who would betray him, all night. Simon and Jude, who would be mostly forgotten, all night. Each one chosen deliberately after extended prayer. Nobody made the list by accident. This destroys the idea that some Christians are more important than others based on how much attention they get. Simon and Jude are apostles, period, foundation stones of the church, members of the 12 Jesus prayed all night about. Yet most Christians couldn't tell you anything about them beyond their names. They're famous for being unfamous, known for being unknown, remembered for being forgot. But Paul says they're foundation stones along with the other apostles. The building can't stand without foundation. Doesn't matter if nobody looks at the foundation. Doesn't matter if the foundation doesn't get decorated or photographed. Without solid foundation, the whole structure collapses. Simon and Jude did foundation work, essential work, work that enabled everything built on top of them. The household of God is built on this foundation, not just on Peter and Paul and John, on all the apostles including Simon and Jude, the ones whose sermons weren't recorded, the ones whose miracles weren't written down. The ones who did the essential work of being foundation without getting the attention that comes with visible ministry. They proclaimed the gospel where their proclamation wasn't preserved in writing. They built the church where their building wasn't documented in Acts. They laid foundation where foundation work is always invisible. Jesus choosing them after praying all night validates their importance. God doesn't waste prayer. When Jesus spends entire nights communing with the Father about decisions, those decisions matter infinitely. Simon and Jude weren't afterthoughts. They weren't backup choices. They weren't selected to fill out the roster. They were chosen deliberately, prayerfully, specifically by Jesus after he spent the night asking the Father who should be apostles. Most Christians live like Simon and Jude: essential work, foundation work, work nobody notices or records or celebrates, raising children in the faith without anyone writing books about your parenting, serving your local church without anyone documenting your service, living faithfully without anyone preserving your story, proclaiming the gospel in your sphere without anyone recording your proclamation. You're building the household of God through invisible foundation work. The whole structure is held together and grows into a temple sacred in the Lord. That's what Simon and Jude contributed to, not a building anyone could see or touch, a spiritual temple, the church, the dwelling place of God in the Spirit. Their foundation stones for that temple. Every Christian who came after them is built on that foundation, including you, right now. You stand on foundation laid by apostles whose names you barely know, but who did essential work that made your faith possible. Their message goes through all the earth, not because they wrote epistles or gospels that got preserved, because they were faithful foundation stones. They proclaimed where proclamation wasn't recorded. They served where service wasn't documented. They laid foundation where foundation work is invisible but essential. And the message still reaches you 2,000 years later because foundation work lasts even when nobody remembers who did it. Jesus spent the night in prayer and chose Simon and Jude. That's their credential. That's their validation. That's what makes them essential, not their fame, not their recorded deeds, not their preserved teaching. Just this: Jesus prayed all night and called them apostles. He made them foundation stones. He built his church on them along with the other apostles, and the church still stands. You're probably more like Simon and Jude than like Peter or Paul. Most Christians are. You do essential work nobody will remember. You lay foundation nobody will see. You build the household of God through service that won't get documented. You proclaim the gospel in ways that won't be recorded. And that's exactly what Simon and Jude did. Foundation work, essential work, work that matters eternally even though hardly anyone remembers who did it. The dwelling place of God in the Spirit is built through countless Christians doing Simon and Jude work. Foundation work, invisible work, essential work. Work Jesus chose you for after prayer even if you never get famous for it. Work that holds the whole structure together even if nobody notices you're doing it. Work that makes you a fellow citizen with the holy ones and a member of the household of God even if you're the apostle nobody remembers.